So when I first started my creative journey and trying to make this into a business, one of the biggest questions I had back in the day was how do people get clients that are paying $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 plus per job? And today I'm going to give you the top secret piece of advice that I have for anyone out there trying to do the same thing and give you all the ins and outs and some nuggets of information to help you along the way. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Evan Ramth. I'm an Atlanta-based photographer. I've been using social media to build my brand as well as the brands of other people for close to 10 years now. And this channel is dedicated to creative people looking to explore ideas, make money with their craft, and live a generally better life. So if that sounds like you, subscribe down below. And if you're someone who's followed the channel for a while now, the merch is back on 1826.com. These are the first hats I ever released, and they're back in stock today. So if you've been waiting on these, head over and snag them. They're extremely limited quantities. And today's video is also sponsored by ShipStation. We will talk about them later on. So the first thing that you got to understand when it comes to high-paying clients is it doesn't happen overnight. That's cliche advice, but it does take a little bit of time to get that first client. The first client is the most difficult one. You know, in finance, they say your first 100,000 is the most difficult because it requires the most legwork. The same exact concept applies to getting your first high-paying client. This is the one that's going to require the most grinding, the most effort. And once you do it, it's going to create kind of a snowball effect that makes it easier and easier every single time. Now, here's the reason why it's so difficult. Typically, to get this first client, you get them through word of mouth and networking, either networking on social media or networking in person. In my case, I was doing a lot of in-person networking in 2015. I was going to a lot of events. People knew me for making photography around the city of Atlanta. I was meeting a lot of people up until that point. I had done a lot of photo shoots with Atlanta-based artists. I had worked with Future up until that point. I'd worked with some larger names in the city as well. So I was building a reputation for myself. And through building that reputation, eventually someone who worked at an Atlanta-based agency reached out to me and said, hey, we think you'd be a good fit for this project. So that's how they found me, was through simple word of mouth, simple grinding, me putting myself in places where people who had the capacity to pay me that $10,000 were able to. You know, it might not be the mom and pop shop down the street. It might be someone bigger that you don't know who's a friend of a friend. And if you go to networking events or you participate in different online communities, you are more likely to get in front of this person and have them discover who you are and what you do. So once they found me, I was contacted by their agency. Now, agencies are typically the people who cover most of these large paying jobs. Not all of them, don't, lock that in stone, but just in my experience and the experience of a lot of people I know who work in advertising and commercial work, typically large companies, say car company X, Ford, for example. Ford will typically hire a group of agencies to create all their media for them. There's literally an agency right down the street behind my apartment called Jackson Spalding. They might have changed their name since the last time I worked with them. Don't quote me on that. But Jackson Spalding, they handle all the agency work for Delta, Chick-fil-A, Orchid. I've been to their office before. And what's funny is there are also other agencies who manage different pieces of media for these companies as well. So big companies with big budgets, they work with a variety of different agencies for a variety of different needs. And the reason this gets easier is because as you start to build these connections and maybe you do one job and do a good job on it, they are more likely to recommend you to their other colleagues at different agencies. Most people, like all industries who work in the creative agency world, know people at other agencies, and word of mouth spreads because I've said this before, people are always looking for someone to solve a problem for them. So if you can be the person who solves the problem the best way and the quickest and the most efficient, aka being the friend of a friend or the person who has a colleague who's worked with you before, you are more likely to get that job just because you're making their problem way easier for them to solve. This actually happened to me about a week ago. I got a phone call from a colleague that I worked with 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, it's been a long time since I worked with this person, and they reached out to me to say that they put my name in with one of the biggest companies in the world. I can't say exactly what company this is, but look at the list of 5 biggest companies and you'll be able to pick one of them. They told me they put my name in with this company for a job that they're working on because of how great of a job I did working with them 4 or 5 years ago, and they thought I would be a great fit for it. So that's just to illuminate how these things can become easier over time and as you start to build a reputation for yourself. So don't get discouraged when that first one takes a long time to get. I'm telling you, it gets a lot easier, and your name can also end up on different recruiting lists, different agency lists. Another example of something that happened to me last year was a beverage company was coming to Atlanta, and they needed someone to document and photograph a installation they were creating with a muralist. And this is something that I had done for years back in the day with Heineken. I actually went to Art Basel one year and worked with Heineken and Montana spray paint cans on an activation they were doing together where they did a commemorative Art Basel can. And I got that job actually through an Atlanta agency. So as you can see, all these things kind of tie in together. But basically this agency at the beverage company reached out to me because a recruiter sent them my name. And then they went to my website, evanramp.com, where they saw I had all this experience doing exactly what they wanted me to do. And I included that in the video today because I wanted to illuminate that point that I made earlier of make sure you're putting yourself out there. If you do any work previously and you enjoy doing it, make sure it's somewhere on your website or on your social media so it's in the forefront of your brand. So if your name gets thrown around or recommended to someone, they're able to see that you're the perfect fit and the perfect answer to solve their problem faster than anybody else can. Now, before we continue on with this video and I give you my one secret piece of information, I want to thank our sponsor today, ShipStation. So like many creatives, my business has a client side, but it also has an e-commerce side. I sell my photo books, photo prints, as well as my merch company 1826, which is the first launch I mentioned earlier in the video. But one of the biggest problems with introducing a product to the marketplace is dealing with shipping. I know I had this problem years ago when I started selling photo prints and photo books. I was handwriting addresses, wasting so much time in long lines at the post office, and then one day I found ShipStation and my business instantly became more efficient. ShipStation's easy-to-use interface allows you to track and process orders quickly and efficiently, and ShipStation is already trusted by over 100,000 e-commerce sellers and is now available in the UK, Australia, and Canada. So whether you're running an online e-commerce business or you're someone who is just tired of all the traditional shipping problems that come with the post office, ShipStation is for you to try out. And luckily, ShipStation is hooking up the channel with a 60-day free trial. All you got to do is go to shipstation.com/Evan and you get 2 months of no hassle, stress-free shipping. That's shipstation.com/Evan to get a free 2-month trial of ShipStation. Ship more in less time for a lot less money. Thank you to ShipStation for sponsoring today's video. So the biggest secret I have for any creative out there trying to get their foot in the door with these larger clients is to create a proof of concept. A proof of concept is essentially you creating something that mimics the thing you want to get paid for, even though you've never gotten paid for it before. Let's say, for example, you're someone who wants to do more lifestyle fashion photography. It is going to benefit you to go out with your friends, to go out with people maybe who are influencers online who need photography and create things for them for free, and it's put together essentially the best portfolio you can possibly make of these fashion lifestyle photos. So as you meet people, whether in person or online, you're able to show them a proof of the concept that you are essentially selling. You're able to show them that, hey, I know what I'm doing. I might not have the biggest reputation. People might not know about me in your circles, but I'm telling you, I am good at what I do. Here's the proof. And this concept applies to small creative jobs as well, but it becomes even more important as budgets begin to increase. Back a few years ago, I can't remember the exact year, I got approached to do a campaign for a car company, and it was an SUV. And if you follow the channel, you know I drive an FJ Cruiser. It's my favorite car I've ever driven. So before I sent my prices, I went out and did a mock photo shoot with my FJ Cruiser in the exact way that I would create the media for this client. And what I did is I laid it out in essentially a presentation deck. You can create this in Photoshop, you can create this in Keynote, you can create it on Canva, doesn't matter. There's all different brands that you can use to do this. But I essentially made a presentation for them showing exactly how I was going to do the job before I ever even did it. I did it completely for free on my own time. And that client ended up paying me $20,000 to essentially do exactly what I did for free in my proof of concept that I sent to them. And I know for a fact that because I went above and beyond on this presentation and made it something that was so unique and so spelled out to the particular client, that's why they went with me in the first place. It was undeniable. And that's what you want to make yourself. You want to make yourself as undeniable as possible. So if you're trying to approach agencies, maybe you finally met a contact or someone who you know works with a client that you want to work with, create that proof of concept and put all of your energy into it. Show them that you can solve the problem for them even before they've agreed to make you that person. It's the biggest piece of advice I have for any creatives out there, regardless of what industry you're in. And I know some people are going to get to the end of this video and be annoyed at me that I'm telling you to essentially do work for free so you can get paid the amount that you want to get paid, but that is how these things work. You need to put in some type of front-end effort to build up that proof of concept and reputation so the people who can pay you actually see your value and are willing to give you the type of money that that you want to get. Nobody's just handing out $20,000 for no reason, but there are ways to speed this up, and this proof of concept is hands down the fastest way to make this possible. So all you got to do is be smart, be strategic, put in the work, and make sure that you're not solely focused on just creating and also being focused on getting your creations in the place where they're most valued.